What if war wasn't just about survival, but about business? What if a country fighting for its existence had to sell its future just to keep getting support? Well, that's exactly what's happening right now between Ukraine and the US, and it could change global power forever. US President Donald Trump has proposed a radical shift in foreign policy, one where American military aid comes with a price tag. Trump claims Ukraine has already agreed to trade $500 billion worth of these critical resources in exchange for continued US backing. But is this a fair deal? Or is Ukraine being forced to sell its future just to survive? Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel for deep dives into global politics, hidden power moves, and the forces shaping our world. Ukraine isn't just fighting for its survival. It's sitting on an untapped fortune buried beneath its soil. Beneath its war-torn landscape lies an estimated $10 trillion worth of critical minerals, making it one of the most resource-rich nations in Europe. These minerals aren't just valuable. They're essential for the industries that power modern technology, defense systems, and the global transition to clean energy. One of the most sought-after resources is lithium, often called white gold for its role in electric vehicle batteries and renewable energy storage. Ukraine is believed to have at least 500,000 tons of lithium oxide, placing it among the most promising lithium suppliers in Europe. But here's the problem. One of its largest lithium deposits, the Shevchenko site in Donetsk, is dangerously close to Russian-controlled territory. If Moscow seizes that region, it won't just gain ground in the war. It will take control of a resource that could dictate the future of battery technology. Beyond lithium, Ukraine also holds significant rare earth element deposits, a group of 17 metals that are vital for manufacturing everything from smartphones and wind turbines to guided missile systems. While Ukraine isn't currently a major producer, these deposits have been largely unexplored, and with the right investment, the country could become a serious player in a market that is currently dominated by China. Another major asset is titanium, a material prized for its strength and lightweight properties, making it indispensable in the aerospace and defense industries. Ukraine has some of the world's largest known titanium reserves, a fact that hasn't gone unnoticed by defense contractors. If controlled by the US, these deposits could significantly reduce reliance on China and Russia, the two biggest suppliers of titanium worldwide. The country is also rich in graphite, a critical component in the production of lithium-ion batteries and fuel cells. As demand for electric vehicles skyrockets, the ability to produce graphite domestically could help Western nations move away from dependence on Chinese supply chains. Meanwhile, Ukraine's uranium reserves make it one of the few European nations with an active domestic supply of nuclear fuel, producing nearly 1,000 tons annually, a resource that factors heavily into both energy security and defense strategy. These minerals aren't just economic assets, they're geopolitical game changers. Whoever controls them will shape the future of energy, defense, and global manufacturing. And now, with Ukraine dependent on Western aid, the real question isn't just who will win the war, it's who will end up controlling these resources when the dust settles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has spent years appealing to the West for support based on shared values and democracy. But Trump's proposal has forced him to play a different game, one where survival means making hard deals. Reports suggest Ukraine is now negotiating a framework agreement that includes joint US-Ukrainian mining projects, giving American companies first access, revenue sharing on future minerals, funding Ukraine's reconstruction. But what happens if Ukraine refuses? Would Trump cut off US support altogether? Or worse, would Russia seize these resources first? This isn't the first time the US has tied military support to economic gains. Think back to Iraq's oil fields, or how American companies gained access to Afghanistan's lithium reserves after years of war. History has shown that military interventions often have economic motives beneath the surface. So the real question is, does this deal protect Ukraine? Or is it just another example of global superpowers using war to secure resources? The Kremlin is watching closely. Publicly, they call Trump's proposal war profiteering. But behind the scenes, Russia is already targeting Ukraine's mineral-rich territories. In fact, Russian forces are closing in on Ukraine's lithium deposits, a resource that both Trump and Putin want control over. If Russia captures these areas first, Trump's entire Minerals for Aid plan could collapse before it even begins. China, the dominant global supplier of rare earth minerals, isn't speaking much on this issue, but it's watching very closely. If the US locks in Ukraine's supply chain, it could challenge China's control over the market. Beijing won't let that happen easily. Expect countermoves, possibly new partnerships with Russia or other resource-rich nations. But there's another possibility. What if Europe steps in first? The EU has already signed agreements with Ukraine for mineral cooperation. If Trump's deal collapses, European nations might rush in to secure their own exclusive mining rights. That could shift the balance of power, keeping the US out of Ukraine's mineral wealth altogether. Or consider this, what if China makes a counteroffer? China dominates the rare earth market, and Beijing could leverage its economic power to push Ukraine into an agreement that benefits them instead. Could Ukraine end up trapped between three competing superpowers, each trying to carve out its share?
If Trump's plan succeeds, what's stopping future wars from becoming full-blown business deals? Will struggling nations have to auction off their natural resources just to secure military help? And if that becomes the norm, who really wins? The countries fighting for survival, or the superpowers profiting from their desperation? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you support this kind of deal? Or does it set a dangerous precedent for the future?
So, let's go back to the original question. Should war be a business? Should military aid come with a price? On one hand, Trump's approach could ensure US involvement in Ukraine's future while cutting China out of the supply chain. On the other hand, it sets a dangerous precedent, one where survival isn't about alliances, but about who has the most to offer. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive into the world's biggest geopolitical moves.